Enuma Elish, 1100 BC, the Akkadian version of the Sumerian myth. When on high the heaven had not been named, firm ground below had not been called by name, there was nothing but primordial Astral, their begetter, and Numa Tiamat, she who bore them all, their waters commingling as a single body. No reed hut had been matted, nor marsh land had appeared, when no gods whatever had been brought into being. Uncalled by name, their destinies undetermined. Then it was that the gods were formed within them. Lamu and Lahamu were brought forth. By name they were called, before they had grown in age and stature. Anshar and Kishar were formed, surpassing the others. They prolonged the days, added on the years. Anu was their heir, the rival of his fathers. Indeed, Anshar's firstborn, Anu, was his equal. Anu begot in his image Nudimund. This Nudimund was the master of his fathers, being of broad wisdom, understanding, mighty in strength, mightier by far than his grandfather, Anshar. He had no rival among the gods, his brothers. The divine brothers banded together. They disturbed Tiamat as they surged back and forth. Indeed, they troubled the mood of Tiamat in the abode of heaven by their hilarity. Apsu could not lessen their clamor, and Tiamat was speechless at their ways. Their dealings were loathsome, and too unsavory were their ways. They were overbearing. Then Apsu, the begetter of the great gods, cried out, addressing Numa, his vizier. O Numa, my vizier, who rejoices my spirit, come here and let us go to Tiamat. They went and sat down before Tiamat, exchanging counsel about the gods, their firstborn. Apsu, opening his mouth, said unto resplendent Tiamat, their ways are truly loathsome unto me. By day I find no relief, no repose by night. I will destroy, I will wreck their ways, that quiet may be restored. Let us have rest. As soon as Tiamat heard this, she was greatly angry and called out to her husband. She cried out, grieved, as she raged all alone, injecting woe into her mood. What? Should we destroy what we have built? Their ways indeed are most troublesome, but let us treat them kindly. Then answered Nimoy, giving counsel to Apsu. Ill-wishing and ungracious was Nimoy's advice. Do destroy, my father, the mutinous ways. Then shall you have relief by day and rest by night. When Apsu heard this, his face grew radiant, because of the evil he planned against the gods, his sons. As for Nimoy, he embraced him by the neck, as that one sat down on his knees to kiss him. Now, whatever they had plotted between them was repeated unto the gods, their firstborn. When the gods heard this, they were stirred up at first, then lapsed into silence and remained speechless. Surpassing in wisdom, accomplished, resourceful, the all-wise saw through their scheme. A master designed against it he had devised and set up, making his spell artful against it, surpassing and holding. He recited it and made it subsist in the deep, as he poured sleep upon him. Sound asleep he lay. When he had made Apsu prone, drenched with his sleep, Numa, the advisor, was powerless to stir him. He loosened his band, tore off his tiara, removed Apsu's halo, and put it on himself. Having fettered Apsu, he slew him. Numa he bound and left behind lock. Having established his dwelling upon Apsu in that manner, he laid hold on Numa, holding him by the nose rope. After had vanquished and trodden down his foes, and had secured his triumph over his enemies, in his sacred chamber in profound peace had rested, he named it Apsu. For shrines he assigned it, and that same place his cult hut he founded. And Damkina, his wife, dwelled there in splendor. In the chamber of fates, the abode of destinies, A god was engendered, most able and wisest of gods. In the heart of Apsu was Marduk created. In the heart of holy Apsu was Marduk created. He who begot him was his father. She who bore him was Ankina, his mother. The breast of goddesses he did suck. The nurse that nursed him filled him with awesomeness. Alluring was his figure, sparkling the lift of his eyes. Lordly was his gait, commanding from old. When A saw him, the father who begot him, he exulted and glowed. His heart filled with gladness. He rendered him perfect and endowed him with a double Godhead. Greatly exalted was he above them, exceeding throughout. Perfect were his members beyond comprehension, unsuited for understanding, difficult to perceive. 4 were his eyes, 4 were his ears. When he moved his lips, fire blazed forth. Large were all 4 hearing organs, and the eyes, in like number, scanned all things. He was the loftiest of the gods, surpassing was his stature. His members were enormous. He was exceeding tall. My little son, my little son, my son, the sun, son of the heavens. Clothed with the halo of 10 gods, he was strong to the utmost, as their awesomeness flashes were heaped upon him. Anu brought forth and begot the fourfold wind, assigning to its power the leader, the host. He fashioned, stationed the whirlwind. He produced streams to disturb Tiamat. The gods, given no rest, suffer in the storm, their hearts having plotted evil. To Tiamat, their mother, he said, when they slew Apsu, your consort, you did not aid him, but remained still. When the dread, fourfold wind he created, your vitals were diluted, and so we can have no rest. Let Apsu, your consort, be in your mind at Enuma, who has been vanquished. You are left alone. You pace about distraught, without cease. You do not love us. Pinched are our eyes, without cease. Let us have rest. To battle. Do you avenge them, and render them as the wind? When Tiamat heard these words, she was pleased. You have given. Let us make monsters. And the gods in the midst, let us do battle against the gods. They thronged and marched at the side of Tiamat. Enraged, they plot without cease night and day. They are set for combat, growling, raging. They form a council to prepare for the fight. Mother Huber, she who fashions all things, added matchless weapons, 4 monster serpents, sharp of tooth, unsparing of fang. With venom for blood, she has filled their bodies. Roaring dragons she has clothed with terror, has crowned them with halos, making them like gods, so that he who beholds them shall perish abjectly. And with that, with their bodies reared up, none might turn them back. She set up the viper, the dragon, the sphinx, the great lion, the mad dog, and the scorpion man. Mighty lion demons, the dragonfly, the centaur, bearing weapons that spare not, fearless in battle. Firm were her decrees, past withstanding were they. Using these, she brought forth 11 of this kind. From among the gods, her firstborn, who formed her assembly, she elevated kingdom, made him chief among them, giving him leadership of the ranks, command of the assembly, the raising of the weapons for the encounter, advancing to combat, and battle the command-in-chief. These to his hand she entrusted as she seated him in the council. I have cast for you the spell, exalting you in the assembly of the gods. I have given you full power to counsel all the gods. Truly you are supreme, my only consort you are. Your utterance shall prevail over all the Anunnaki. She gave him the tablet of destinies and fastened on his breast. As for you, your command shall be unchangeable. Your word shall endure. As soon as King was elevated, possessed of the rank of Anu, for the gods, his sons, they decreed the fate. Your word shall make the first subside, so humble the power weapon, so potent in its sweep. When Tiamat had lent import to her handiwork in that way, she prepared for battle against the gods, her offspring. To avenge Absalom, Tiamat wrought evil. As she was girding for battle, was divulged to Ea. As soon as Ea heard of this matter, he lapsed into dark silence and sat right still. Then on further thought, his anger subsided. To Anshar, his forefather, he betook himself. When he became before his grandfather Anshar, he repeated all that Tiamat had plotted to him. My faith in Tiamat, she who bore us, detests us. She has set up the assembly and is furious with rage. All the gods have rallied to her, even those whom you brought forth march at her side. They throng and march at the side of the Tiamat. Enraged, they plot without ceasing night and day. They are set for combat, rallying, raging. They have formed a council to prepare for the fight. Mother Hubar, she who fashions all things, has added matchless weapons, has borne monster serpents, sharp of tooth, unsparing of fang. With venom for blood she has filled their bodies. Roaring dragons she has clothed with terror, has crowned them with halos, making them like gods, so that he who beholds them shall perish abjectly. And that, with their bodies reared up, none might turn them back. She has set up the viper, the dragon, and the sphinx, the great lion, the mad dog, and the scorpion, mighty lion demons, the dragonfly, the centaur, bearing weapons that spare not, fearless in battle. Firm are her decrees, past withstanding are they. Using these, she has brought forth 11 of this kind. From among the gods, her firstborn, who formed her assembly. She has elevated kingdom, has made him chief among them, giving him leadership of the ranks, command of the assembly, the raising of the weapons for the encounter, advancing to combat, in battle the command-in-chief. These to his hand she entrusted, as she seated him in the council. I have cast the spell from you, exalting you in the assembly of the gods. I have given you full power to counsel all the gods. Truly you are supreme. My only consort are you. Your utterance shall prevail over all the Anunnaki. She has given him the tablet of destinies, and fastened on his breast. As for you, your command shall be unchangeable. Your word shall endure. As soon as Kingu was elevated, possessed of the rank of Anu, the gods, her sons, they decreed the fate. Your word shall make the fire subside, shall humble the power weapon, so potent in its sweep. When Anshar heard that Tiamat was sorely troubled, he smote his loins and bit his lips. Gloomy was his heart, restless his mood. He covered his mouth to stifle his outcry. Battle. The weapon you have made, bear it up. For Mumu and Absalom you did slay. Now slay Kingu, who marches before her. Wisdom. Answered the counselor of the gods, Nudimund. To Anu, his son, a word he addressed. This, the most powerful of heroes, whose strength is outstanding, past resisting his onslaught. Go and stand up to Tiamat, let her mood be calmed, let her heart expand. If she will not listen to your word, then tell her our word, that she might be calmed. When he heard the command of his father Anshar, he made straight for her way, following the road to her. But when Anu was near enough to see the plan of Tiamat, he was not able to face her, and he turned back. He came objected to his father Anshar. As though he were Tiamat, thus he addressed him. My hand is not sufficient to subdue you. Speechless was Anshar as he stared at the ground, hair on the edge, shaking his head at Ea. All the Anunnaki gathered at that place, their lips closed tight. They sat in silence. No god, thought they, can go to battle and facing Tiamat escape this life. Lord Anshar, father of the gods, rose up in grandeur, and having pondered in his heart, he said to the Anunnaki, he whose strength is potent shall be our avenger. He who is keen in battle, Marduk, the hero. Ea called Marduk to his place of seclusion. Giving counsel, he told him what was in his heart. O Marduk, consider my advice. Hearken to your father, for you are my son who comforts his heart. When facing Anshar, approach us though in combat. Stand up as you speak. Seeing you, he will grow restful. The Lord rejoiced at the word of his father. He approached and stood up facing Anshar. When Anshar saw him, his heart filled with joy. He kissed his lips, his own gloom dispelled. Anshar, be not muted, open wide your lips. I will go and attain your heart's desire. Anshar, be not muted, open wide your lips. I will go and attain your heart's desire. What male is it who had pressed his fight against you? It is but Tiamat, a woman, that flies at you with weapons. O my Father, Creator, be glad and rejoice. You shall soon tread upon the neck of Tiamat. O my Father, Creator, be glad and rejoice. You shall soon tread upon the neck of Tiamat. My son, you who know all wisdom, calm Tiamat with your holy spell. On the storm chariot proceed with all speed. From her presence they shall not drive you. Turn them back. The Lord rejoiced at the word of his father. His heart exalted. He said to his father, Creator of the gods, destiny of the great gods, if I indeed, as your avenger, am to vanquish Tiamat and save your lives, set up the assembly, proclaim supreme my destiny. When jointly in Shekinah you have sat down rejoicing, let my word instead of you determine the fates. What I may bring into being shall be unalterable. Neither shall the command of my lips be called or changed. Anshar opened his mouth, and to Gaga, his vizier, a word he addressed. O Gaga, my vizier, who brings gladness to my spirit, to Lahmu and Lahamu I will dispatch you. You know discernment, and are adept at fine talk. Produce the gods, your fathers, before me. Let all the gods precede you. Let them have conversation. Sit down to a banquet. Let them eat festive bread and poured wine. For Marduk, their avenger, let them fix the decrees. Be on your way, Gaga. Take the stand before them. And what I shall tell you, repeat unto them. Anshar, your son, has sent me here, charging me to give voice to the dictates of his heart, saying, Tiamat, she who bore us, detests us. She has set up the assembly and is furious with rage. All the gods have rallied to her, even those whom you brought forth march at her side. They throng and march at the side of Tiamat. Enraged, they plot without ceasing night and day. They are set for combat, growling and raging. They have formed a council to prepare for the fight. Mother Hoover, she who fashions all things, has added matchless weapons, has borne monster serpents, sharp of tooth, unsparing of fang. With venom for blood she has filled their bodies. Roaring dragons she has clothed with terror, has crowned them with halos, making them like gods, so that he who beholds them shall perish subjected, and that, with their bodies reared up, none might turn them back. She has set up the viper, the dragon, and the sphinx, the great lion, the mad dog, and the scorpion, mighty lion demons, the dragonfly, the centaur, bearing weapons that spare not, fearless in battle. Firm are her decrees, past withstanding are they. Using these she has brought forth 11 of this kind, from among the gods her firstborn, who formed her assembly. She has elevated kingdom, has made him chief among them, giving him leadership of the ranks, command of the assembly, the raising of the weapons for the encounter, advancing to combat, and battle the command-in-chief. These to his hand she's entrusted, as she seated him in the council. I have cast a spell for you, exalting you in the assembly of the gods. I have given you full power to counsel all the gods. Truly you are supreme, my only consort are you. Your utterance shall prevail over all the Anunnaki. She has given him the tablet of destinies fastened upon his breast. As for you, your command shall be unchangeable, your word shall endure. As soon as kingdom was elevated, possessed of the rank of Anu, for the gods, her sons, they decreed the fate. Your word shall make the fire subside, shall humble the power weapon, so potent in its sweep. I sent forth on him, he could not face it. Nudimund was afraid and turned back. Forth came Marduk, the wisest of gods, your son, his heart having prompted him to set out to face Tiamat. He opened his mouth, saying unto me, if I indeed, as your avenger, am to vanquish Tiamat and save your lives, set up the assembly and proclaim supreme my destiny. When jointly in Shekinah you have sat down rejoicing, let my word instead of you determine the fates. What I may bring into being shall be unalterable, neither shall the command of my lips be recalled nor changed. Now hasten here and promptly fix for him your decrees, that he may go forth to face your mighty foe. Gaga departed, proceeding on his way. Before Lamu and Lahamu, the gods, his fathers, he made obeisance, kissing the ground at their feet. He bowed low as he took his place to address them. It was Anshar, your son, who has sent me here, charging me to give voice to the dictates of his heart, saying, Tiamat, she who bore us, detests us. She has set up the assembly and is furious with rage. All the gods have rallied to her. Even those whom you brought forth march at her side. They throng and march at the side of Tiamat. Enraged, they plot without cease night and day. They are set for combat, growling, raging. They have formed a council to prepare for the fight. Mother Hoover, she who fashions all things, has added matchless weapons, has borne monster serpents, sharp of tooth and sparing of fang. With venom for blood she has filled their bodies. Roaring dragons she has clothed with terror, has crowned them with halos, making them like gods, so that he who beholds them shall perish abjectly, and that, with their bodies reared up, none might turn them back. She has set up vipers, dragons, and sphinxes, great lions, mad dogs, and scorpion men, mighty lion demons, dragonflies, and centaurs, bearing weapons that spare not, fearless in battle. Firm are decrees, past withstanding are they. Using these, she has brought forth 11 of this kind, from among the gods her firstborn, who formed her assembly. She has elevated kingdom, has made him chief among them, giving him leadership of the ranks, command of the assembly. The raising of the weapons for the encounter, advancing to combat, and battle the command-in-chief, these to his hand she has entrusted, as she has seated him in the council. I have cast the spell for you, exalting you in the assembly of the gods. I have given you full power to counsel all the gods. Truly you are supreme, my only consort are you. Your utterance shall prevail over all the Anunnaki. She has given him the tablet of destinies, fastened on his breast. As for you, your command shall be unchangeable. Your word shall endure. As soon as Kingi was elevated, possessed of the rank of Anu, for the gods, her sons, they decreed the fate. Your word shall make the fire subside, shall humble the power of weapon, so potent in its sweep. I sent forth on him, he could not face it. Nudimund was afraid and turned back. Forth came Marduk, the wisest of gods, your son, his heart having prompted him to set out to face Tiamat. He opened his mouth, saying unto me, if I, indeed, as your avenger, am to vanquish Tiamat and save your lives, set up the assembly, proclaim supreme my destiny. When Shekinah, jointly you sit down rejoicing, let my word, instead of you, determine the fates. What I may bring into being shall be unalterable, neither shall the command of my lips be recalled nor changed. Now hasten here and properly fix for him your decrees, that he may go forth to face your mighty foe. When Lamu and Lahamu heard this, they cried out aloud. All the Igigi wailed in distress. How strange that they should have made this decision. We cannot fathom the doings of Tiamat. They made ready to leave on their journey, all the great gods who decree the fates. They entered before Anshar, filling Shekinah. They kissed one another in the assembly. They had conversation as they sat down to the banquet. They ate festive bread and poured wine. They wetted their drinking tubes with sweet intoxicant. As they drank the strong drink, their bodies swelled. They became very languid as their spirits rose. For Marduk, their avenger, they fixed the decrees. They erected for him a princely throne. Facing his fathers, he sat down beside them. You are the most honored of the great gods. Your decree is unrivaled. Your command is honored. You, Marduk, are the most honored of the great gods. Your decree is unrivaled. Your word is honored. From this day forth, your pronouncements shall be unchangeable. To raise or bring low, these shall be in your hand. Your utterance shall be true. Your command shall be unimpeachable. No one among the gods shall transgress your bounds, adornment being wanted for the seats of all the gods. Let the place of their shrines ever be in your place. O Marduk, you are indeed our avenger. We have granted you kingship over the entire universe. When you sit in assembly, your word shall be supreme. Your weapons shall not fail. They shall smash your foes. O Lord, spare the life of him who trusts you, but pour out the life of the God who seized evil. Having placed in their midst the images, they addressed themselves to Marduk, their firstborn. Lord, truly your decree is first among gods. Say but direct or create, it shall be. Open your mouth, the images will vanish. Speak again, and the images shall be whole. At the word of his mouth, the images vanished. He spoke again, and the images were restored. When the gods, his fathers, saw the fruit of his word, joyfully they did homage. Marduk is king. They conferred on him scepter, throne, and vestment. They gave him matchless weapons that ward off the foes. Go and cut off the life of Tiamat. May the winds bear her blood to the places undisclosed. Bel's destiny thus fixed, the gods, his fathers, caused him to go the way of success and attainment. He constructed a bow, marked it as his weapon, and fitted an arrow to the bowstring. He raised the mace, made his right hand grasp it. Bow and quiver he hung at his side. In front of him he set the lightning. With a blazing flame he filled his body. He then made a net with which to enfold Tiamat. The four winds he stationed that nothing of her might escape. The south wind, the north wind, the east wind, and the west wind. Close to his side he held the net, the gift of his father, Anu. He brought forth Imhulu, the evil wind, the whirlwind, the hurricane, the fourfold wind, the sevenfold wind, the cyclone, and the matchless wind. Then he sent forth the winds he had brought forth, the seven of them. They rose up behind him, to stir up the inside of Tiamat. Then the Lord raised up the flood storm, his mighty weapon. He mounted the irresistible and terrifying storm chariot. He harnessed and yoked it to a team of four, the killer, the relentless, the trampler, and the swift. Their lips were parted. Their teeth bore poison. They were tireless and skilled in destruction. On his right he posted the smiter, fearsome in battle. On the left, the combat, which repels all the zealous. For a cloak he was wrapped in an armor of terror. With his fearsome halo his head was turbaned. The Lord went forth and followed his course. Toward the raging Tiamat he set his face. In his lips he held a spell. A plant to put out poison was grasped in his hand. Then they milled about him. The gods milled about him. The gods, his fathers, milled about him. The gods milled about him. The Lord approached to scan the inside of Tiamat, and to perceive the scheme of Kingu, her consort. As he looks on, his course becomes upset. His will is distracted, and his doings are confused. And when the gods, his helpers, who marched at his side, saw the valiant hero, their vision became blurred. Tiamat emitted a cry, without turning her neck, framing savage defiance in her lips. You are too important for the Lord of the gods to rise up against you. Is it in their place that they have gathered, or in yours? Thereupon the Lord, having raised the flood storm, his mighty weapon, sent the word to Tiamat, saying, Why have you risen up and haughtily exalted yourself? You have charged your own heart to stir up conflict. Sons reject their own fathers, while you, who have borne them, have forsworn love. You have appointed Kingu as your consort, conferring upon him the rank of Anu, which is not rightfully his. Against Anshar, king of the gods, you seek evil. Against the gods, my fathers, you have confirmed their wickedness. Although your forces are drawn up, and your weapons girded, stand up, so that you and I might meet in single combat. When Tiamat heard this, she was like one possessed. She took leave of her senses. In fury, Tiamat cried out aloud. To the roots her legs shook together. She recites a charm, keeps casting her spell, while the gods of battle sharpen their weapons. Then Tiamat and Marduk, wisest of gods, joined issue. They strove in single combat, locked in battle. The Lord spread out his net to enfold her. He let loose the evil wind, which followed behind in her face. When Tiamat opened her mouth to consume him, he drove in the evil wind, that she could not close her lips, as the fierce winds charged her belly. Her body was distended, and her mouth was wide open. He released the arrow. It tore her belly. It cut through her inside, splitting the heart. Having thus subdued her, he extinguished her life. He cast down her carcass to stand upon it. After he had slain Tiamat, the leader, her band was shattered, her troop broken up, and the gods, her helpers who marched at her side, trembling with terror, turned their backs about in order to save and preserve their lives. Tightly encircled, they could not escape. He made them captives, and he smashed their weapons. Thrown into the net, they found themselves ensnared. Placed in cells, they were filled with wailing. Bearing his wrath, they were held in prison. And the 11 creatures that she charged withal, the whole band of demons that marched on her right, he cast into fetters. Their hands he bound. For all their resistance, he trampled them underfoot. And Kingu, who had been made chief among them, he bound and accounted him to Uye, who took him from the tablet of destinies, not rightfully his, sealed them with a seal and fastened them on his breast. When he had vanquished and subdued his adversaries, had the vainglorious foe, had wholly established Anshar's triumph over the foe, Nudimund's desire had achieved, valiant Marduk strengthened his hold on the vanquished gods, and turned back to Tiamat, whom he had bound. The Lord trod on the legs of Tiamat. With his unsparing mace, he crushed her skull. When he had severed the arteries of her blood, the north wind bore it to places undisclosed. On seeing this, his fathers were joyful and jubilant. They brought gifts of homage to him. Then the Lord paused to view her dead body, that he might divide the monster he wrought for works. He split her like a shellfish into 2 parts. Half of her he set up and sealed it as the sky, pulled down the bar, and posted guards. He bade them not to allow her waters to escape. He crossed the heavens and surveyed the regions. He squared Apsu's quarter, the abode of Nudimund. As the Lord measured the dimensions of Apsu, the great abode, its likeness, he fixed as Ashara, the great abode, Ashara, which he made as the firmament. On Enum and A he made occupy their places. He constructed stations for the great gods, fixing their astral likenesses as the images. He determined the year by designating the zones. He set up 3 constellations for each of the 12 months. After defining the days of the year by means of heavenly figures, he founded the station of Nibiru to determine the heavenly bands, that none might transgress or fall short. Alongside it, he set up the stations of Enlil and A, or Enki. Having opened the gates on both sides, he strengthened the locks to the left and to the right. In her belly he established the zenith. The moon he caused to shine, entrusting the night to him. He appointed him a creature of night to signify the days, monthly without cease. Formed his eyes with a crown. At the month's very start, rising over the land, you shall have luminous horns to signify 6 days. On the 7th day, reaching a half crown. At full moon, stand in opposition in mid-month. When the sun overtakes you at the base of heaven, diminish your crown, and retrogress in the light. At the time of disappearance, approach the course of the sun, and on the 30th day, you shall again stand in opposition to the sun. When Marduk heard the words of the gods, his heart prompts him to fashion artful words. Opening his mouth, he addressed A, to impart the plan he had conceived in his heart. Blood I will mass and cause bones to be. I will establish the savage, man shall be his name. Truly savage man I will create. He shall be charged with the service of the gods, that they might be at ease. The ways of the gods I will artfully alter, although they will be revered alike they shall be divided into 2 groups. A answered, speaking a word to him, giving him another plan for the relief of the gods. Let but one of their brothers be handed over. He alone shall perish, that humankind may be fashioned. Let the great gods be here in the assembly. Let the guilty be handed over, that they might endure. Marduk summoned the great gods to the assembly. Presiding graciously, he issues instructions. The gods pay heed to his utterance. The king addresses a word to the Anunnaki. If your former statement was true, declare the truth to me now, under oath. Who was it that contrived the uprising and made Tiamat rebel, join battle? Let him be handed over who contrived the uprising. His guilt I will make him bear. You shall dwell in peace. The Igigi, the great gods, replied to him. The Lugu Demir or Ankia, counselor of gods, their lord, it was Kingu who contrived the uprising and made Tiamat rebel and join battle. They bound him, holding him before Ea. They imposed on him his guilt and severed his blood vessels. Out of his blood they fashioned humankind. He imposed the service and let free the gods. After Ea, the wise, had created humankind, had imposed upon it the service of the gods, that work was beyond comprehension, as artfully planned by Marduk, the Nudimund created. Marduk, king of the gods, divided all the Anunnaki above and below. He assigned them to Anu to guard his instructions. 300 in the heavens he stationed as a guard. In like manner he defined the ways of the earth. In heaven and on earth he settled 600 thus. After he had ordered all the instructions to the Anunnaki of heaven and earth, had allotted their portions, the Anunnaki opened their mouths and said to Marduk, your lord, now, O Lord, you who have caused our deliverance, what shall be our homage to you? Let us build a shrine whose name shall be called Bo, a chamber for our nightly rest. Let us repose in it. Let us build a throne, a recess for his abode. On the day that we arrive, we shall repose in it. When Marduk heard this, his features glowed brightly, like the day. Construct Babylon, whose building you have requested. Let its brickwork be fashioned. You shall name it the sanctuary. The Anunnaki applied the implement. For 1 whole year they molded bricks. When the 2nd year arrived, they raised high the head of Eskilo, equaling Apsu, having built a stage tower as high as Apsu. They set it up in an abode for Marduk, Endo, and Ea, the Tower of Babel, supposedly. In their presence, he was seated in grandeur. To the base of Ashara, its horns looked down. After they had achieved the building of Esgilia, all the Anunnaki erected their shrines. The 300 Igigi, all of them gathered, the Lord being on the lofty dais they had built as his abode. The gods, his fathers, he seated at his banquet. This is Babylon, the place that is your home. Make merry in its precincts, occupy its broad places. The great gods took their seats. They set up festive drink, sat down to a banquet. After they had made merry within it, and as Azazel, the splendid, had performed the rites, the norms had been fixed, and all their portents. All the gods apportioned the stations of heaven and earth. The 50 great gods took their seats. The 7 gods of destiny set up the 300 in heaven. Enuma raised the bow, his weapon, and laid it before them. The gods, his fathers, saw the net he had made. When they beheld the bow, how skillful its shape, his fathers praised the work he had wrought. Raising it, Anu spoke up in the assembly of the gods. As he kissed the bow, this is my daughter. He named the names of the bow as follows. Longwood is the first, the second is Accurate, its third name is Bowstar, for I have made it shine in heaven. Most exalted be the Sun, our Avenger. Let his sovereignty be surpassing, having no rival. May he shepherd the black-headed ones, his creatures, to the end of days, without forgetting. Let them claim his ways. May he establish for his fathers the great food offerings. Their support they shall furnish, shall tend their sanctuaries. May he cause incense to be smelled, their spells. make a likeness on earth of what he has wrought in heaven. May he order the black-headed to revere him. May the subjects ever bear in mind to speak of their God, and may they at his word pay heed to the goddess. May food offerings be borne for their gods and goddesses. Without fail, let them support their gods. Their lands let them improve, build their shrines. Let the black-headed wait on their gods. As for us, by however many names we pronounce, he is our God. Let us then proclaim his 50 names, he whose ways are glorious, whose deeds are likewise. Marduk, as on him, his father called him from his birth, who provides grazing and drinking places, enriches their stalls, who with the flood storm his weapon vanquished the detractors, and who the gods his fathers rescued from distress. Truly, the son of the sun, most radiant of gods is he. In his brilliant light may they walk forever. On the people he brought forth, endowed with life. He imposed the service of the gods, that these may have ease. Creation, destruction, deliverance, grace, shall be by his command. They shall look up to him. Truly, Maruka is the God, creator of all, who gladdens the heart of the Anunnaki, appeases the Igigi. Truly, Marutuku is the refuge of his land, city, and people. Unto him shall the people give praise forever. Barashakushu stood up and took hold of his reins, wide in his heart, warm in his sympathy. Lugo Demirankia is the name that we proclaimed in our assembly. His commands we have exalted above the gods, his fathers. Truly, he is the Lord of all the gods of heaven and underworld, the king at whose discipline the gods above and below are in mourning. Naraluga Demirankia is the name of him whom we have called the monitor of the gods, who in heaven and on earth found for us retreats in trouble, and who allots stations to the Igigi and Anunnaki. At his name the gods shall tremble and quake and retreat. Asaruladu is that name of his that Anu, his father, proclaimed for him. He is truly the light of the gods, the mighty leader, who, as the protecting deities of gods and land, in fierce single combat saved our retreats in distress. Asaruladu's second they have named Nam Tilaku, the god who maintains life, who restores the lost gods as though his own creation. The Lord revives the dead gods by his pure incantation, who destroys the wayward foes. Let us praise his prowess. Asaruladu, whose name was third, called Namru, the shining god who illumines our ways. Three each of his names have Anshar, Lamu, and Lahamu proclaimed. They did utter them unto the gods, their sons. We have proclaimed three each of his names. Like us, do you utter his names? Joyfully the gods did heed their command. As in Abshukina they exchanged counsels. Of the heroic son, our avenger, of our supporter, we will exalt the name. They sat down in their assembly to fashion destinies, all of them uttering his names in the sanctuary. Asuru, restorer of cultivation, who established water levels, creator of grain and herbs, who causes vegetation to sprout. Asuruli, who is honored in the place of counsel, who excels in counsel, to whom the gods hope, not being possessed and feared. Asarulam Nuna, the gracious, light of the Father, his begetter, who directs the decrees of Anu, Enlil, and Ninidiku. He is their provider, who assigns their portions, whose horned calf is plenty, multiplying. Tutu is he, who effects the restoration. Let him purify their shrines that they may have ease. Let him devise the spell that the gods may be at rest. Should they rise in anger, let them turn back. Truly, he is supreme in the assembly of the gods. No one among the gods is his equal. Tutu is Zerkinian, life in the host of the gods, who established for the gods the holy heavens, who keeps a hold on their ways, determines their courses. He shall not be forgotten by the beclouded. Let them remember his deeds. Tutu, they third called Ziku, who established holiness, the god of the benign breath, the Lord who hardens and exceeds. who produces riches and treasures, establishes abundance, who has turned all our wants to plenty, whose benign breath we smell in sour distress. Let them speak, let them exult, let them sing his praise. Tutu, fourth, let the people magnify as Agaku, the Lord of the holy charm, who revives the dead, who had mercy on the vanquished gods, who removed the yoke imposed on the gods, his enemies, and who, to redeem them, created humankind. The merciful, in whose power it lies to grant life. May his words endure, not to be forgotten, in the mouth of the black-headed, whom his hands have created. Tutu, fifth, is Tutu, whose holy spell their mouths shall murmur, who with his holy charm has uprooted all the evil ones. Shazu, who knows the heart of the gods, who examines the inside, from whom the evildoer cannot escape, who sets up the assembly of the gods, gladdens their hearts, who subdues the unsubmissive, their widespread protection, who directs justice, roots out crooked talk, who keeps wrong and right apart in its place. Shazu, may they, second, exalt as Sizi, who silences the insurgent, who banishes consternation from the body of the gods. His fathers, Shazu, third, Sarum, who, with the weapon, roots out all the enemies, who frustrates their plans, scatters them to the winds, who blots out all the wicked ones who tremble before him. Let the gods exalt in assembly. Shazu is fourth, Sir Guru, who ensures a hearing for the gods, his fathers, creator of the gods, his fathers, who roots out the enemies, destroys their progeny, who frustrates their doings, leaving none of them. May his name be evoked and spoken in the land. Shazu, fifth, they shall praise as Arim, the Lord of the living, who destroys all adversaries, all the disobedient, pursues the evil, who all the fugitive gods brought home to their shrines. May this his name endure. To Shazu, moreover, they shall, sixth, render all honor as Zarurum, who all the foes destroy as though in battle. In Belulu, the Lord who makes them flourish, is he, the mighty one, who named them, who instituted roast offerings, who ever regulates for the land the grazing and watering places, who opened the wells, apportioning waters of abundance. In Belulu, second, they shall glorify as Abadun, the Lord who sprinkles the field, irrigator of heaven and earth, who establishes seed rows, who forms fine plowland in the steppe, dam and ditch regulates, who delimits the furrow. In Belulu, third, they shall praise his, in Belulu Ugal, the irrigator of the plantations of the gods, Lord of abundance, opulence, and of ample crops, who provides wealth, enriches all dwellings, who furnishes millet, causes barley to appear. In Belulu is Higal, who heaps up abundance for the people's consumption, who causes rich rains over the wide earth, provides vegetation. Surser, who heaped up a mountain over her, Tiamat, who carried off the corpse of Tiamat with his weapon, who directs the land, their faithful shepherd, whose hair is a grain field, his horned cat furrows, who vaults the wide-spreading sea in his wrath, crossing her like a bridge at the place of single combat. Surser the second they name Mala, and so forth. Tiamat is his vessel, and he the rider. Jill, who stores up grain heaps, massive mounds, who brings forth barley and millet, furnishes the seed of the land. Jehovah, who makes lasting the lofty abode of the gods, creator of security, the hoop that holds the barrel together, who represents with days. Jehovah, the exalted one, who tears off the crown with the wrong position, who creates the clouds above the waters, makes them to endure aloft. Zulu, who designates the fields for the gods, allots the creation, who grants portions of food offerings, tends the shrines. Rumu, creator of heaven and earth, who directs. The god who sanctifies heaven and earth is, second, Zulamar, who no other among the gods can match in strength. Gishnu Munaba, creator of all, who made the world regions. Destroyer of the gods of Tiamat, who made men out of their substance. Ugababa Dubar, the king who frustrated the work of Tiamat, rooted out her weapons, whose foundation is firm in front and in rear. Pagojuina, the foremost of all the lords, whose strength is outstanding, who is preeminent in the royal abode, most exalted of the gods. Lugo-Dirmal, the king, bond of the gods, lord of the Dirmal, who is preeminent in the abode of the gods, most exalted of the gods. Arununa, counselor of A, creator of the gods, his followers, whose princely ways no god would ever can equal. Dumaduku, whose pure dwelling is renewed in Duku. Dumaduku, without whom Lugo-Kuduga makes no decision. Lugo-Lina, the king whose strength is outstanding among the gods. The Lord, strength of Anin, who became supreme at the call of Anshar. Luga-Luga, who carried off all of them amidst the struggle, who all wisdom encompasses and is broad in perception. Kingu, who carried off Kingu in the thick of the battle, who conveys guidance for all, establishes rulership. Kinma, who directs all the gods, the giver of counsel, at whose name the gods quake in fear, as at the storm. As sees courage shall sit aloft in the house of prayer, where the gods bring their presence before him, that from him they may receive their assignments. None can create artful works without him. 4 black-headed ones are among his creatures. Aside from him, no god knows the answer as to their days. Gibble, who makes the sharp point of the weapon, who creates artful works in the battle with Tiamat, who has broad wisdom, is accomplished in insight, whose mind is so vast that the gods, all of them, cannot fathom it. Adu be his name, the whole sky may he cover. May his beneficent war ever hover over the earth. May he, as Mumu, diminish the clouds. Below may he furnish sustenance for the people. Ashur, who, as his name, guided the gods of destiny. All the people are truly in his charge. Nibiru shall hold the crossings of heaven and earth, so that they, the gods, cannot cross above and below. They must wait upon him. Nibiru is the star that is in the skies, is brilliant. Truly he beholds the central position. They shall bow down to him, saying, He who the midst of the sea restlessly crosses, let crossing be his name, who controls its midst. May they uphold the course of the stars of heaven. May he shepherd all the gods like sheep. May he vanquish Tiamat. May her life be straight and short. Into the future of humankind, when days are grown old, may she recede without cease and stay away forever, because he created the spaces and fashioned the firm ground. Father Enlil called his name Lord of the lands, when all the names at the Ijiji proclaimed. A had heard, his spirit rejoiced. Thus, he whose names his fathers have glorified. He is indeed even as I. His name shall be A. All my combined rights he shall administer. All my instructions he shall carry out. With the title 50, the great gods proclaimed him whose names are 50, and made his way supreme. Let them be kept in mind. Let the leader explain them. Let the wise and knowing discuss them together. Let the father recite them and impart to his son. Let the ears of shepherd and herdsman be opened. Let him rejoice in Marduk, the Enlil of gods, that his land may be fertile, and that he may prosper. Firm in his order, his command unalterable. No god shall change the utterance of his mouth. When he looks, he does not turn away his neck. When he is angry, no god can withstand his wrath. Vast is his mind, broad is his sympathy. Sinner and transgressor may come before him. I have appointed a sign, follow its path, approach and give judgment. After he appointed the days to Shamash and established the precincts night and day, taking his spit of Tiamat, Marduk created. He formed the clouds and filled them with water. The raising of winds, the bringing of rain and cold, making the mist, smoke, piling up for poison. These he appointed to himself, took into his own charge. Putting her head into position, he formed mountains on it, opening the deep that was in the flood. He caused to flow from her eyes the Euphrates and Tigris, stopping her nostrils he left. He formed at her udder the lofty mountains. Therein he drilled springs for the wells to carry off the water. Twisting her tail, he bound it to Jamal, absolute at his foot, her crotch. She was fastened to the heavens. Thus he covered the heavens and established the earth. In the midst of Tiamat he made flow. His net he completely let out. So he created heaven and earth, their bounds established. When he designed his rules and fashioned his ordinances, he founded the shrines and handed them over to A. The tablet of destinies that he had taken from King he carried. He brought it as the first gift of greeting. He gave it to Anu, the gods who had done battle and be scattered. He led bound into the presence of his fathers. Now the 11 creatures that Tiamat had made, whose weapons he had shattered, which he had tied to his foot. Of these he made statues and set them up at the gate of Astral, saying, "Let it be a token that this may never be forgotten." When the gods saw this, they were exceedingly glad. Lahu, and all his fathers crossed over to him, and Anshar the king made manifest his greeting. Anu, Enuma, and Ea presented to him gifts. With the gift, Damkina, his mother, made him joyous. She sent offerings, his face brightened. To Usmi, he brought her a gift to his secret place. He instructed the chancellorship of Apsu and the stewardship of the shrines. Being assembled, all the Igigi bowed down, while everyone of the Abenaki kissed his feet. Their assembly to do obeisance. They stood before him, bowed, and said, "He is the king." After the gods, his fathers, were satiated with his charms. A and Damkina, they opened their mouths to speak to the great gods, the Igigi. Formerly, Marduk was merely our beloved son. Now he is your king. Proclaim his title. A second speech they made. They all spoke. His name shall be Lagodimir Yankia. Trust in him. When they had given the sovereignty to Marduk, they declared for him a formula of good fortune and success. Henceforth, you will be the patron of our sanctuaries. Whatever you command, we will do. Marduk opened his mouth to speak, to say a word to the gods, his fathers. Above the Apsu, where you have resided, the counterpart of Ashar that I have built over you. Below I have hardened the ground for a building site. I will build a house. It will be a luxurious one. I will build therein its temple. I will establish my sovereignty. When you come up from the Apsu for assembly, you will spend the night therein. It is there to receive all of you. When you descend from heaven for assembly, you will spend the night therein. It is there to receive all of you. I will call its name Babylon, which means the houses of the great gods. I shall build it with the skill of craftsmen. When the gods, his fathers, heard the speech of this, they put the following question to Marduk, the firstborn. Over all that your hands have created, who will have your authority? Over the ground that your hands have created, who will have your power? Babylon, which you gave a fine name therein, establish our abode forever. Let them bring our daily ration. Let one assert our tasks that we previously performed. Therein its labor. Marduk rejoiced when he heard this, and he answered those gods who had questioned. He that slew Tiamat showed them light. He opened his mouth. His speech was noble. Then will be entrusted to you. The gods bowed down before him. They spoke to him. They said to Lugal Dimironkia, formerly the Lord, was merely our beloved son. Now he is our king. Proclaim his title. He whose pure incantation gave us life. He is the Lord of splendor, mace, and scepter. A, who knows the skill of all crafts. Let him prepare the plans. We will be the workers. He fixed its position with the gods, its brothers. After Anu had decreed the fate of the bow, and had placed the lofty royal throne before the gods, Anu placed it in the assembly of the gods. When the great gods had assembled, they extolled the destiny of Marduk. They bowed down. They pronounced among themselves a curse, swearing by water and oil to place life in jeopardy. When they had granted him the exercise of kingship of the gods, when they had given him dominion over the gods of heaven and underworld, Anshar pronounced supreme his name. Asar Lui, saying, "Let us do obeisance at the mention of his name. To his utterance let the gods give heed. Let his command be supreme above and below." He wrote down and thereby preserved it for the future. The dwelling of Marduk that the gods, the Gigi, had made, let them speak, the son of Marduk, who vanquished Tiamat and achieved the kingship. This is the end of Enuma, of which I hope you realize that was basically Satan's version. Not Satan, I mean Azazel, a fallen angel, who was also Beelzebub, also known as Baal. And flood since they already had their, when they established their own pantheon of gods, the Sumerians did. I've researched a lot on this for years, guys. Believe me, I've had a lot of time after injury, after the military, and believe me, I had plenty of time to do a lot of research on this. This is basically, it's so obvious, especially if you once read all these and put these together and find out that Enki is first of all, you know that, and he's Azazel, and that he's just, trying to, after the Great Flood, basically rebuild civilization under his dead son Marduk. He was grieved that all of his sons being killed by the flood. Enki, who has knowledge, and everybody praises him on earth, are trying to, especially the ancient aliens and stuff like this, and everybody else trying to praise him as, oh, he gave humanity and freedom. No, he enslaved humanity, believe me. They were talking about black-headed people and other scripts too, where they enslaved mankind. First of all, if they're gods, why would they need work done for them all the time? And come on. And they told people, they played them for stupid, because they knew they didn't know much and they believed in worship and knew that there were higher beings. These were all fallen angels, people. That's all it is. And there's generations right now, it's supposed to be 70 generations from the book of Nimoy. Really